Good morning, Empower Her Oasis. I wanted to jump on with a quick message and let's just jump straight into it. So, I had the privilege of being in Hot Springs, just spending some getaway time with my husband in Hot Springs last weekend. And so, something that happened that was so unique because people who know us know that we travel a lot and we run into all different kind of people, encounter all types of situations, and this is not our first round in Hot Springs, but I must say this was our most enjoyable time in Hot Springs, Arkansas. So one of the things that stood out to me while we were in Hot Springs, everybody, and when I say everybody, I mean everybody was nice. Locals, I'm not talking about visitors, I'm talking about the locals there. There's not a store that we went in. There's not a restaurant we went in. There's not a street that we walked down that we weren't encountered by kind people. They were kind. They went out of their way to make sure we were good. Let me give y'all an example. So we drove up to this mountain. They have a tower that you can go on the top of to do an overlook of the mountain. So the guy at the counter was extremely nice. Like, where are y'all from? Holding a whole conversation. Didn't mind that it was a couple of people behind us. I mean, he was just so nice. When we get to the top of the mountain, these people, hey, do y'all want us to take a selfie of y'all? Now, sometimes that has happened to us on vacation. And then, so on the way down the elevator, we rode with these people who took a selfie of us and they had a whole conversation. As we were about to get into our car, we decided to take a picture in a parking lot so that we can have the tower behind us. It was a guy, they looked like they was cutting trees around the mountain. He saw my husband doing a selfie of us. He got out of his truck. Now, keep in mind, he could have just crunked his truck up and kept rolling. He got out of his truck and said, hey, guys, would y'all like me to take the photo of you all? We were in a restaurant. The waiter, he sit down at the table and talk to us. I was in a boutique and I was sharing with the lady that in a few weeks I'm going to be going on a cruise. So she was like, let me help you find some cruise items. And this woman went to the back to go through all of these shoe boxes to make sure that they weren't overlooking a pair of shoes that I wanted because I needed a certain size. So she said, I'm going to go check the back. She was back there about 10 minutes and she came back up. She said, I went through every box just to make sure that I wasn't overlooking it for you. I mean, going above and beyond. I said, babe, we've been to Hot Springs before, but never have we, everywhere we went, people were extremely, it wasn't that most places we go that people are rude, but people don't go above and beyond and be so nice, so helpful. Y'all get where I'm going with this. And it was almost like being in a utopia for just a brief moment in time. And it made a good trip even better, right? So why am I telling y'all about that trip? Because this is not my travel station. This is my Empower Her Oasis channel. Why am I telling you all about that? Because as I reflected on the way home, because I was just overwhelmed with the amount of kindness that we received. And I said, this is, or has to be, a group of people who are intentional. Intentional in their words, intentional in their actions. Because something Maya Angelou once said, people will forget what you did. People will forget what you said, but they would never forget how you made them feel. I would never forget how the people in Hot Springs made us feel. So with that being said, something I wanted to bring to the Empower Her Oasis circle is embracing intentionality. The power of intention in our words and our actions, just like with the people in Hot Springs. Because we think about in the world that we live in, everybody is hustling and bustling, right? There are so many distractions, our cell phones, the computer, and then there are so many rapid changes, right? Especially with AI and everything going around. So the concept of intentionality stands out for me as a beacon of purpose and clarity. Because intentionality goes beyond just mere goals, right? It's about aligning our thoughts, our words, and our actions with our core values and beliefs, right? It's a conscious choice to live and to speak in a way that reflects who we truly are. And not only to reflect who we are, but whose we are, right? whose we are, who we are and whose we are. Because when we do things, it's supposed to reflect God. So when we talk about the essence of intentionality, and that's what I want to pose to the circle, and some of you may be asking, okay, what is intentionality? Intentionality is simply the practice of being deliberate and purposeful in everything we do, right? In everything. It's recognizing that our words carry power and our actions, they carry weight. We have to be intentional. So it's not going to just happen by happenstance. Again, I'm going to repeat that. We have to be deliberate and we have to be purposeful. What we communicate through our dialogue, we have to remember that shapes our relationships. It influences others, and it can even alter our own perception, right? When we lead with intention, I feel like we create a ripple effect that fosters deeper connections, right? But we have to be intentional. And not only do it foster deeper connections, it has a more authentic existence, right? When we live in intentionality. I had a conversation with my daughter because she hates to smile, so people always think she's a mean girl. So I told her, why do you want people to think you a mean girl, right? How hard is it to just simply smile? And she's like, I ain't no fake, I ain't no phony. It's not being a fake or phony. It's just about knowing what you put out there, how you present yourself, how you present Christ to others. So I said, baby girl, you have to be intentional that when you encounter people, just crack a smile. Because when you smile, the world smiles back at you. But you have to be intentional in doing that. And just like I was sharing with my daughter about being intentional with smiling, we as an Oasis, we have to be intentional with our words. In other words, when we are speaking to others, and y'all know I'm a talker, but I'm even learning in this journey of life that you have to speak with purpose. That you can't just go around talking, frivolous talking, using a lot of words, because our words are like seeds and they can either uplift a person or they can diminish. So when we choose our words intentionally, we begin to cultivate an environment of respect, kindness, and understanding. Think about that. We create our own environment with our words when we are intentional. Consider the impact of a genuine compliment or empathetic response. Think about when somebody gave you a genuine compliment, how that made you feel. These intentional expressions can encourage growth in others, or they even strengthen our bonds. I know when my husband compliments me and tell me I look good, he's strengthening the bond with us, and it makes me feel good throughout the day to know that my husband said, oh, you look nice today, because words have power, you all. Moreover, practicing intentional communication means being mindful of our tone, because see, a lot of time we just think about the words we say. And I've heard so many people say, well, I was telling the truth. I was telling the truth. You may have been telling the truth, but were you mindful of your tone? Because if you was telling the truth in a rude way, in a nasty way, guess what? It's hard for people to receive that. So when we're communicating, we're being intentional about our communication. We have to be mindful of our tone. We have to be mindful of our body language. We even have to be mindful of our silence, because even silence speaks words, right? Then we have to ask ourselves, are we actively listening to the other person? Are we choosing to respond rather than reacting? Right? Because sometimes we can be very reactive. But aligning our words with our intentions, we can embody authenticity, and we can create spaces where others feel valued and heard. I know if I'm talking to somebody and they over talking to me, I don't feel valued. I don't feel like I was heard. I'm going to feel like you feel like your words are more important than mine. Right? So do we actively listen? Do we lean in when people are talking to us? Are we really concerned with what they're saying? So we have to be intentional with our words and Empower Her Oasis. The second thing before I close, we have to be intentional with our actions. It's not just our words. It's our actions. Just like we have to speak with a purpose, we have to live with a purpose. Again, still talking about being intentional, because actions often speak louder than words. You can say a lot of things with your mouth, but your actions are going to tell the true story. So intentional actions reflect our beliefs and our priorities by demonstrating our commitment to our values. When we act with purpose, we send a clear message about who we are and whose we are and what we stand for. Whether it's dedicating time to volunteer, whether it's pursuing our passions, or simply showing up for a loved one, right? Intentional actions will amplify our intentions in a tangible way. I know when my mother passed, I was an assistant professor at the time. I'm no longer a professor, but I was at the time. And I had a group of my students to show up at my mom's funeral. And even though I did not cry in my mama's funeral, when I was walking out the church, that's when I realized they were there, and I just broke down in tears because their actions impacted me in a powerful way. So living intentionally also means being aware of the impact of our actions, not only on ourselves, but on others, because what they did, like I said, has a power, and I would never forget them for that. It's about when you're living intentionally, when your actions are intentional, it's about making choices that align with principles, even when it's challenging. I'm not saying it's always going to be easy. Y'all know when you live in this Christian life, nothing is ever easy, but it's well worth it, right? And every effort we make to act with intentions, it's going to foster resilience. It's going to give us more insight. And then it's personal growth. And that's what the Oasis is all about. That's why I created the Empower Her Oasis. I wanted to empower women in our journey of personal growth. That's what it's all about. I don't want to be the same woman in 2027 that I am in 2026. I don't even want to be the same woman next month in August that I am in July. Because for me, it's all about growth. It's all about elevating. It's always about leveling up. You can always do better. So we can always be better in our speech. We can always be better in our actions, because the true beauty of intentionality lies in harmony between our words and our actions. And they should line up. Our words and our actions should line up. Because when they align, we create a powerful, authentic narrative that resonates with others. In other words, people will say they ain't just talking about it, they being about it, right? Because congruence, it builds trust and it builds integrity in our relationships, both personal and professional. You can try this in your professional life, and you could try it in your personal life. And I promise you, when you move with intentionality, you're going to see a difference in both areas. So ladies, in our journey toward intentional living, let's embrace the challenge of integrating our words and our actions. Let's try that. For the rest of the month, I'm going to say it again. Let's integrate our words with our actions. May not be easy, but try. Ask yourself every day that you wake up, ask yourself, are my words reflecting my values? Right? Or ask yourself, do my actions align with my intentions? See, the road is always paved with good intentions. But what about your actions? I'm going to pause and let that sink in for a minute. By committing to this practice, ladies, we can lead lives that are not only meaningful, but also inspiring to those around us. Just like those people in Hot Springs, they inspired me to get on this video today and ask you to be intentional. That's the impact it had on me, just for all of that kindness that was showered on us by complete strangers. And just think about, sometimes people can be nice to strangers and not even nice to the people in their own homes. Shame on us. Sometimes we can speak nicely to people out in the street and speak so rude and nasty to people within our own homes. Sometimes our action reflects that we have more love for the world than we have for God. Again, shame on us. So, what is your call to action as we navigate the complexities of life? Empower Oasis, let us remember the importance of intention in our words and in our actions. Let us strive daily for intentionality, right? In our interactions, even in the choices that we make. Because by doing so, we not only enrich our own lives, but we also create a positive impact on the world all around us. I mean, what better way to represent God? So today, I just want to beg you, I want to plead with you, right? To embrace intentionality. Just be intentional about what you do and say. And if we do this, the whole Empower Her Oasis group, just think about if all of us say, you know what? We're going to be intentional in our words. We're going to be intentional in our actions. Do y'all know the culture that we will foster? We will foster a culture of awareness, authenticity, connection. So ask yourself when you get through watching this video, what steps am I going to take today to infuse more intention into my words? What steps am I going to take today to infuse more intention into my actions? What am I going to do today? And I can't wait for you to share your thoughts below. Y'all be blessed. And as I always say, be empowered.